Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, please accept our respectful
Hare
obeisance.
Krishna. Nanda Pranamto, glories to Srila Prabhupada. How are you today?
My blessings, good Prabhuji.
So you have some drawings posted to post in the chat?
Only one devotee has submitted. Devotees actually were busy in few services, so they were requesting that if we can do this exercise tomorrow, if it is okay to you, Prabhuji.
Okay, we can
I
go
talked
for
to few devotees, so they were requesting like this. So I wanted to make this request to you.
So did you do one?
We have just one of one Prabhu, and
Okay, put
rest
it
of the
up.
devotees they were.
Anyway, well, let me hear. Okay, I have to do something here. We'll just have to move on. Oh, see here. Okay, and then I'll have to put this file computer. Yeah. Okay. Yes, no. Oh, it is. Let's try again. Going late here. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Hare Krishna. I hope everyone is in good spirits, good Krishna consciousness today. My name is Ramiya. I will be leading our discussion today of chapters 30 and 31 of the fourth canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. So let's begin with our prayers for the blessings and all auspiciousness that we may be enlightened by the Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Ganatimirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uttapadkamala Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raganatam Pitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijilasetam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Namscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Dapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavane Shri Vishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hare Priya Vanchakapatrubhyascha Kipasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnaveva Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Shu Shu Sho Shadadanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Syanmahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevanat Shinvata Svakata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtana Hridyantos Stohi Abhadrani Vidinoti Suritsatam Nastapraeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistaki Krishne Swa Namo Bhagate Dharma Jnana Nibisa Kalo Nasta Disham Esha Purnarko Dinodita. And now prayers to the Srimad Bhagavatam. Sarva Shastabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ramadya Sarva Lokaika Drikpada Sarva Bhagavata Brana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kali Dvanto Dita Ditya Shri Krishna Parivartita Sarva. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O nectar churned from the ocean of the Vedic scripture, O most prominent transcendental fruit of all the Vedas. O you who are enriched with all the jewels of all spiritual philosophical conclusions. O you who grant spiritual vision to all the people of the world. O life breath of the Vaishnava devotees. O Lord, you are the sun which has arisen to dispel the darkness of Kali Yuga. And you are actually Lord Krishna who has returned among us. So today we are discussing chapters 30 and 31. So first thing would be a little review of chapter 29, and we'll do the drawings. I guess according to Rukmini Harisevani, she's said they'll be ready tomorrow. So review, can anyone give any points of memory from chapter 29? This would be very impressive if you can actually remember these. From our last session, of course, of the Bhagavatam last Sunday. So it was all a lot of discussion about what part of the living entity? Antayami Balaram, what part were we discussing?
About the consciousness, Prabhuji?
Consciousness, but of the different types of different parts of the body, subtle and gross, what part? What
Mind?
part do most? Yes, that's the part most devotees are struggling a bit with.
Yes.
So the super soul, what does he do? The mind is, okay, first, what happened to the mind? What does the mind do?
Thinking, feeling, and willing.
Okay, but
Accept, reject.
it's what?
Accept and reject.
Accept and reject, okay, but it also has a function that really gets us in trouble. And that is, it's like a big recording.
Memory.
Keeps track of every experience, images. And what happens at the time of death? All these images. What do?
Recall.
Yeah, recall. So we're seeing the whole movie, everything coming at us that we've experienced. And the living entity has still his finger, and sometimes he puts the pause button on and say, hey, that one I like. And what does Super Soul do? He says, okay, here you go. Just like going into the big store and you say, I like that item. And the clerk comes up and says, here you are, sir. It's all yours. So we have to train this subtle body by doing what? Rukmini?
Prabhuji, the question you asked previously, I was thinking about few verses of Bhagavad Gita, which I was reading in chapter 29. When I was reading verses, so in verse number 74, 75, it was like telling about the virtue of the process of the subtle body. So how subtle body, how mind works, and after giving up, that as you said that the movie goes on, we remember all our past life and something, and which is the more prominent, and we are attached to that picture, we are stick to that picture. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning the verses like Dehin Asmani Yatha Dehe Kaumaram Yovanam Jara. So how we transmigrate from one to another, and very beautiful. I like this verse so much, like 76 and 77. In this, it was saying that a caterpillar, how the caterpillar is going from one leaf to another, but not leaving the one green leaf. So this is how we do. So I was like this also. Prakriti kirya manani gune karmani sarvasha. So yes, Prabhuji, and few verses like yam yam vapi smart bhavam tajante kalevaram. So this, and then it was coming to Bhagavad Gita chapter 15, Udamula Madhashakam. This what?
So Krishna says, Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto. Always think of me, right?
Yes.
Then the subtle body is focused on Krishna. We're serving Krishna. And where do we go from there?
Krishna Loka.
Krishna Loka.
Loka
That's the
Vrindavan.
right spot. That's where we go, and we don't have to come back again. Good. So, yes, so this karma is actually being stored where? It's being stored somewhere. It's being stored in the subtle body. And from there, Krishna says, hey, now it's time for you to take this body, for you to experience this thing. And we talked about the mind focusing in on one sense, expressing itself. And does anyone have an example of that?
Prabhuji, can I tell one point?
I guess so.
Okay. We talked about the subtle body. Subtle body means mind, intelligence, and false ego. So we have to, as you said, that we have to engage our mind, smartavya satatam Vishnu. So we have to always engage our mind in Krishna and intelligence. So and I was thinking about the chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, that how mind works, like dhyato vishya punsan. So how our thoughts, how our mind engaged, and then we can't. I'm just forgetting the word. Um, to concentrate on that, the thoughts that the thinking will feel in willing. So this we do, and then it goes on. So we can dhyato vishya. So we think, if as we think about the materialistic thing, so this happens. And same way, if we smartava saratam vishu, if we are engaging in the devotional service, and somehow, and we are doing the services, trying to do the service, and after some time we start liking it and we get attached. So at the end of when we are leaving the body and we are attached to this any of the service of to Krishna, then this will happen.
I see. So in the spiritual world, There will be Zoom classes and you can be the coordinator. So the mind, what happens? The mind fills with anger, and then what happens? How does it get expressed? It focuses. Go ahead.
Two different parts of the body.
I'll give an example.
Like we said that if we are angry, then we can speak some harsh words. We can use it, can express through tongue, and we can use some harsh words, or we can hit someone by through our hands or legs, like that.
And yes, and in the spiritual focus, the mind also has similar function, which is discussed in the Nectar of Devotion. And what happens? Sometimes you may dream that you're flying in the sky. How is that possible?
Prabhuji, shall I?
What's that?
Yes. So, Prabhuji, it was somewhere stored in the subtle body, because when we are changing the body, our gross body is getting changed. Oh, sorry, our gross body is getting changed, but subtle body transmigrate from one to another. So it's going with us, with the soul, with me. It's going in another body. So the past life, if I might be any bird, or I might be having that flying experience. So that experience is coming to me, and I'm having these in my dreams. Please forgive me if I'm wrong.
Very good. Very good. So therefore, according to the mind, we are getting different types of bodies. Very important. And the more we talk and think about and preach about Krishna, then there's purification. And then we no longer are imagining and dreaming, but instead we're focused on our spiritual identity. I think some of you had expressed different things you are thinking to do in that regard. I hope maybe you had some experience. That would be nice. If anyone wants to share any experience they had. Speaking about Krishna consciousness. Anyone?
Prabhuji, can I share one point in this?
Please do.
Prabhuji, I was thinking like Sabe Muna Krishna Padara Vindayor Vachansi Vaikunta Gunanu Vanane. So it's like when I was used to be work somewhere. I used to be in the hotel industry. So all the time I wanted to quit my job and wanted to do the perform devotional service. So after many years, I worked for 15 years. Then I thought that I should not work. So now when I perform devotional service. This is actually give the bliss. This give the satisfaction. Yeah, otherwise, nothing, no other thing can give the satisfaction, because I am a spirit soul, I'm not this body. So nothing can satisfy me. If something, materially I used to do, and was that, for little time, I used to be happy, but after, after coming to, after reading Srila Prabhupada books and came to know about the philosophy, I was not at all able to enjoy that, it even for the lesser, a minim. It is a chapal sukh actually, but I was not able to relish that. But now there is no satiation. So this is actually a real bliss we get when we perform, when we go to temple, when we serve.
So this was a specific gift by Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Prabhupada, that dovetailing our activities in devotional service. Very good, very successful. So now let us stop and go ahead in chapter 30. We want to make sure we have plenty of time here. We have many things to discuss about the Prachetas. Who were the Prachetas? Prachetas were the sons of King Prachinabhari, who we were discussing last week. So now we'll see his sons. His sons, they received the Rudra Gita, spoken by Lord Shiva, and Bhai Vidura wanted to know what happened. He concluded they must certainly be transferred to the spiritual world, but what did they achieve here in this world? What happened? So now the story will unfold, the whole history of the Prachetas. So they underwent austerities, chanting the Rudra Gita immersed in water for many, many years. And then after 10,000 years of austerity, we could not perform this, but they had 10,000 years. Then the Lord appeared, very pleased with them. He came in a beautiful way, in a beautiful form, on the back, on the shoulder of Garuda, like a cloud resting on the summit of the Meru mountain. Meru mountain is the tallest mountain in the universe. So there was Vishnu coming, and he was wearing yellow garments, and he wore a beautiful Kastuba mani, Kastuba jewel around his neck, and he had such a brilliant effulgence that all the darkness in the entire universe was being eliminated, dissipated. And then naturally, the Lord's face. This is the lotus, the culmination of all the different lotuses on his body. The very beautiful face of the Lord was there for the Prachetas to meditate on, to see, to be very encouraged. And his head was decorated with a shining helmet. He had golden ornaments. Helmet was dazzling, beautifully situated on his head. He had 8 arms, not just 4. And each one held a weapon. So the Lord was surrounded by, because he doesn't come alone, he comes with demigods, sages, so many others. And they were all engaged in his service. Garuda, he's flapping his wings, and when he flaps his wings, there comes the Vedic hymns. And he is known as an inhabitant of Kinnara Loka. So around the neck of the personality of Godhead was a flower garland that reached to his knees. He had 8 stout, elongated arms that were decorated with garland. And that challenged the beauty of the goddess of fortune. And with a merciful glance and a voice like thunder, the Lord addressed the sons of King Prachinabhari, and who they were very much surrendered to him. So what happened next? Let's go back into the details. The sons of King Prachinabhari, they satisfied the Supreme Personality of Godhead, chanting the song they were given by Lord Shiva. And then by Shiva's grace, they attained perfection by chanting. Just as we can attain perfection by chanting this Maha Mantra and go back to Godhead. So they achieved this, and they had a long time to enjoy material facilities to the highest extent. So this is a very wonderful story, but out of many millions of people, only one may be interested in attaining success in spiritual matters. So just see how few of all the people in Delhi are here at our class today. Not so many compared to the millions that live in New Delhi. The devotee is given a chance to enjoy the material world before his final entrance into the spiritual world. And sometimes the devotee is transferred to a heavenly planet. But could be a little dangerous. You take a side trip, you may be stuck in the heavenly planets for many thousands and thousands of years. So they were not just chanting the mantras, but they were within the sea, within the ocean, doing incredible austerities. Now here is the essence. If one repeats prayers offered by great devotees like Lord Shiva or Lord Brahma, or if one follows in the footsteps of great personalities, one can please the Supreme Personality of the Godhead very easily. Here we have Brahma Samhita given as example. As the most important way to worship the Lord is to go through disciplic succession of devotees. So does anyone here have any verse from from Brahma Samhita they would like to share with us that is their favorite verse?
Shall I?
Please speak.
I like so many verses of Brahma Samhita. Two verses we daily chant in Shringar Aarti. Two of them, and the first verse is that which says that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That this and one verse Alok Chandra Prasat Vanmale Vanshi Ratna Gadam Pradakeli Kala Vilasam Shamam Tribang Lalitam Niyata Prakasham Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So first 8 verses, so I like so much. And one verse which says, I'm not remembering the complete verse, which says that Ganesha, but on Ganesha, he holds the lotus feet of Lord on his head. So that is very beautiful verse. And Brahman Janashurita Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadeviteshu Apipalyantam is this one. And starting verses more. Of course, these only truths. Thank you.
Very good. Also, devotees may chant prayers in praise of Govardhan Hill. They may chant prayers chanted by Prahlad Maharaj, praising Lord Nrsingadev. And so many other prayers are there in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And devotees are encouraged, as this is one of the ninefold processes of devotional service, to learn some prayer and chant it. And then perhaps like Gajendra at the time of death, who chanted the mantra he learned in the previous life, we will be saved. So, very good. So now we will hear what the Supreme Lord said to the Prachetas. Tushtoham Sahidenava. You are engaged in devotional service, and I am pleased with your friendly relationships. Please ask for a benediction. Real unity is the unity of souls attempting to satisfy the Lord. And of course, we have the example of Dhruva Maharaj. The Lord appeared and he said, ask for a benediction. So he didn't just say, "Oh yes, I want a beautiful wife, I want a beautiful king." He had come saying he wanted a kingdom bigger than Lord Brahma. Now, when he's seeing the Lord, he says, "Oh, I came looking for broken pieces of glass, and I found the most beautiful rare jewel." So those who remember the Prachetas in the evening will have friendly relationships with all living entities. In ISKCON nowadays, they're starting to create some different departments, sometimes for marriage counseling and relationships. So just by remembering the Prachetas, we can get benedicted of having friendly relationships with devotees and with all living entities. So reciting the Rudra Gita, we see Lord Vishnu's benediction, fulfill their desires and give you good intelligence. And because they were submissive to their father, they've become famous. Now he's given a benediction, material benediction. He said, "You'll have a famous son. You will marry this devotee, Marissa, daughter of Pramlocha and Kandu." And they were married and they had a daughter, which they left to be raised by the trees. Chandra then poured nectar into her mouth with his fingers. Very extraordinary personality. She will have a similar nature to yours and create progeny. And you, this is the best part of the benediction, you will develop unadulterated bhakti to me and go back to Godhead. So devotees who understand me as the ultimate enjoyer offer results to me and are unaffected by the results of actions of family life. Such devotees are never bewildered, never lamenting, or unnecessarily jubilant. So let's study this a little bit deeper. So here, what's going on? They did their meditation austerities for 10,000 years, which doesn't seem very happy. If we have to fast on one day for Janmashtami, it is difficult. What to speak of austerities, staying under the water for 10,000 years. So finally, Vishnu did appear before them and in a very pleasing form. And then they became satisfied and they forgot all the difficulties, the austerities they underwent. In the material world, if one is successful after hard labor, he is very pleased. And the Lord is kind enough to give them the easiest method of attaining spiritual benefit. So yes, we know often we have to engage in a project or something and we have to work very hard. And then when it's completed, some pleasure is there. Now this question comes. Why the Lord had 8 hands, 8 arms? And usually whatever he carries is considered a weapon. But even these lotus flower is a weapon. It touches the living entity with this lotus and they become his devotees. So everything the Lord uses transfers, converts the soul individuals to devotees. So this Garuda He is like a Kinnara. They have a body like human being, but they have wings. Every planet has some distinctive facility. So sometimes in our studies, reading different literatures, we'll hear different accounts coming from other places about angels and people coming with wings. So here, Prabhupada say, yes, they actually are. And if you like, you can get such a body. Every planet has some distinctive feature. So here, an important conclusion of this activities of the Prachetas. There is only one goal, and that is to serve Krishna to the best of one's ability. If there is some disagreement over service, such disagreement is taken as spiritual. This makes the Supreme Personality of Godhead very happy and willing to award all kinds of benedictions. So what does this mean? Can anyone speak and say what is this talking about?
Prabhuji, can I try?
You can.
Thank you. Prabhuji, it is like after reading this, one thing is coming into my mind, that is humility. When Rupa Goswami was saying, and one pastime is Mahaprabhu has with Rupa Goswami, and one with like when he was saying that, please stop, that your humility is melting my heart. So when there is some disagreement with the devotee, and we humbly we can express our opinion also, and we take another devotee's opinion also, and we somehow become humble, and with humble attitude, if we say agree with that devotee whatever he's saying, because I think that both are not wrong, but they have just different opinions, and both the devotees wants to just serve the Lord selflessly, but they can have this opinion. So this was coming in my mind. So if we become humble, so the humility, makes Krishna so happy, like this.
So in particular, this verse, this part is very big application in ISKCON. Can anyone state one of Prabhupada's quotes about cooperation?
Yes, Prabhuji, I can.
Go ahead.
The exact statement, the words will be here and there, but Papa said that your cooperation, your love for me will be shown how you cooperate with each other in serving after my departure from this material world. So this will be shown, your love will be shown.
So this is cooperation is going on in all levels in ISKCON. We are cooperating with our fellow devotees. They may have different priorities, different projects than we do, all important. And yet we have to cooperate. Not that only one particular project or my project is important and all others are not, or my opinion is the best. We particularly see that this is demonstrated again and again by our leaders, the GBC. Sometimes there are disagreements on particular topics, and yet we agree. Huh? You were saying? So there are some major issues going on in ISKCON, which you may be aware of. For example, the setting up of giving permission for women to be guru. Very, very major topic. So it's not simply that they take some vote and say, all right, this is the way it is. But back and forth, they're talking so many years, trying to see if everyone can be satisfied. And each one has their whole list of quotes from the different Shastra and Prabhupada, why their position is correct. So it's not that everyone simply fights and then no good resolution. One side loses, one side wins. They're trying to work so that everyone can come to the proper conclusion, an agreement. Difficult, very difficult, especially when you are intertwining different cultures. Here in the West, devotees easily accept women as gurus. But in the Bharsha, due to culture, tradition, due to other reasons, it's not so easily accepted. So some conflict is there. This is a big one, but we can see from that conflict how we have our own conflicts. And how important it is. If there is simply fighting, then everything will be spoiled. So I want to stop here for another minute and just ask for any comments or opinions about this cooperation. Because this is one of the big lessons here that we definitely have to keep with us. Amarendra Hari, you have to say something? No?
No problem. No problem. Listen to
So you have no problem with cooperation in the ashram?
Yes, Daru Krishna Prabhuji will speak something. Prabhuji.
Sure, please. Go ahead. Amarendra,
Prabhuji,
yeah, good.
please repeat question, Prabhuji, please.
How you are understanding this cooperation and applying in your devotional service?
Prabhuji, cooperation is very necessary, Prabhuji, for everyone growth in Bhakti, Prabhuji, because we are living in ashram and we are having not personal life but social life. So if everyone will contribute with or cooperate with everyone, then our life will be do nicely, Prabhuji. As just I am attending class here and someone will scroll out nearby, so how I can able to do, or someone health is not good in one room, Prabhuji, we are a devotee living in one room, Prabhuji. So if anyone health is not good and if he is sleeping and anyone disturbing, so it's not good, Prabhuji. So cooperation is very much important for social life, mainly, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
And also, like, there's cooperation between temples.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Some temple
It's
is
also
sending their devotees one place, and the other temple say, no, this is my area, you cannot come.
yes, Prabhuji. When we go for book distribution, Prabhuji, in any area, then the local temple do objection that this one is my area, why you are coming for book distribution, why you are coming for fund collection or preaching, this is my college or this is my area. It's very much, Prabhuji. Whole India ISKCON has distributed that this is my area, this is my city, this is my state. ये तो है Prabhuji.
Yes, ISKCON is expanding more and more, and so this cooperation is becoming very important. But this cooperation is very pleasing to Krishna.
Yes,
And
Prabhuji.
he gives all benedictions to us when we cooperate.
Yes, Prabhuji. Lord Vishnu Prabhuji says to Prachetas that I am pleased by your cooperation with each other. In Pratyajak Prabhuji.
Yes.
Yes.
So, Daruka Krishna, your hand is raised. Please, you like to speak?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. In terms of this cooperation, I just wanted to say that cooperation is like digesting the paradox. There could be many things are happening, but at the same time, we have to be very cooperative, and we have to see the bigger picture or the larger picture, even though we may not be agree with someone's opinion, but then also we have to come together and go on to please Krishna. That, like we were talking about the temples, although two different temples or two different presidents have different mentalities to take on his own yatra towards Krishna, but ultimately both of them, they want to go towards the Krishna. So on the places, sometimes it comes that areas there are differences, that this is my territory, or but ultimately the preaching should go on. And if one temple is not able to manage that area, or don't have that much preachers or strength or manpower, they should easily agree to another temple to give them that area for preaching. And when they have sufficient manpower, they can take it back also. And we had done this kind of things in the past, and now both the temples are happy and their preaching also increases.
Yes.
Correct.
I know here in America, sometimes the devotees were concerned that many Indian origin people there are joining our temples very easily, but the Western people are not so easily joining. It's very, very less. So we have one devotee here, a senior godbrother of mine, Kalakanta Prabhu, and he is introducing how to make devotees in the West join our movement. And he is training people and sending them to other temples to establish ashrams so that people can join those ashrams and practice, learn how to live as a devotee. So in this way, cooperating, not just I have a solution, I have something, now you all, good luck. I am the best. So by this cooperation, Lord Vishnu is benedicting all the devotees. Rukmini wants to say something and then we'll move on.
I just want to say 2 points, that there are 7 purposes of ISKCON, and for to achieve those purposes, and as Srila Prabhupada has created, I have already told the purposes. So to achieve that purposes, cooperation is very much needed. Secondly, if you were saying the last sentence, so it was coming in my mind that it is actually a Vaishnava etiquette. We should do more Vaishnava etiquette courses time to time. Even somebody is like at any position, if somebody has already done Bhakti Vedanta, even of course he will get the degree of Bhakti Vedanta which Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada possesses. Then even for time to time we should have the because this cooperation, how to cooperate, this everything, when we have the Vaishnava etiquette, how to talk to the seniors, how to be with the um, uh, peers. So when we have all these things, so this can be of good help.
Yes, this is true because people come to Krishna consciousness and we cannot assume they'll naturally be trained in proper behavior. proper respect, and what that means. Not just, oh, dandavat, dandavat, and then you go and speak something against that devotee. That Vaishnava etiquette is very important. And it is a cornerstone, a foundation for cooperation. So Prabhupada wanted to establish an ideal society. But if people come and see that we are not able to cooperate, we're not respectful of each other, then they will not join. They will say, this is just another material organization. It is nothing special. So, something we should meditate on beyond the scope of this course. And we could stay here a long time on this topic, but we have a lot to go through. So now let us go next. So Lord Vishnu says, those who remember you, the Prachetas, every evening, every day, will become friendly with all other living entities. Those who remember the activities of the Prachetas will be delivered and blessed. Very nice. So these are all important things. So many stories are there in the Bhagavatam, and there's constant blessings and examples, things to learn, things to understand, and blessings that we may become pure. No difference between here Bhagavad Gita directly from the Supreme Lord and following a personality like Arjuna. And here we know we follow Srila Prabhupada. The Lord blessed the Prachetas because they obeyed their father's order. So this is important. We receive orders from a superior, and the Lord will bless us if we carry those orders and obey them. Now comes more benedictions. So Prabhupada is telling us that the living entity creates his own happiness or unhappiness. The Supreme Lord, he does not actually enforce these happiness, unhappiness on the living entities. It comes automatically from material nature. Here, the Supreme Lord, he praised the Prachetas because of faithfully obeying their father's order, and therefore he blessed the sons of King Prachan and Barishat, and because of that. Even Srila Prabhupada, in the very early days, one devotee, his mother, Brahmananda, his mother came to visit, and she was complaining, oh, I've given my sons to you. And Prabhupada told Brahmananda, you bow down and pay your obeisances to your mother. So his mother at the time didn't seem to be a devotee. She was complaining. But Prabhupada said, no, she's your mother. Pay obeisances. So Chanaka, he has said, there's many things he said, but one thing he said, if there's a good tree within a garden or a forest, the flowers will fill the forest with their fragrance. So in this way, there's a benediction. If one develops good Krishna consciousness, it will fill the whole city with that wonderful fragrance of Krishna consciousness. So Brahmalochan, she was the mother of Marissa. She did not want to stay like mothers do and take care of her daughter from the sage Kandu. Instead, she gave her daughter to the trees in the forest to take care. So the daughter was then born from Brahmalochan and Kandu. Very special birth. And Prabhupada explains that whenever a great sage goes to practice severe austerities for material power, the king of heaven, Indra, becomes very envious. So they were concerned that Indra would come, and therefore they asked the trees to accept their child and raise her, which they did. I wish I could explain how a child is raised by a tree, but I'm not clear about that part. Anybody has anything they can say about that? Obviously, a very exceptional situation. And Chandra, because the child was crying, child wanted mother's milk. Mother was gone. So Chandra, the god of the moon, he came and put his finger in the mouth of the child, and she was satisfied. So such an unusual child. So here we can see again a very special that the Prachetas are being obedient. Now here we're seeing another special case of this girl who married more than one man. And that is only allowed in very, very special cases when she can treat her husband equally. But this, Prabhupada says, this is not possible for ordinary women. So somehow or other, Marissa was able to do that. I know I was discussing that with my wife, and I said, I can't imagine how she could have 10,000 husbands. I was just making a joke, and please don't be offended, but I said, I can just imagine the husband comes and he said, I would like to have my prasadam. She said, just wait 10,000 minutes. I have to serve so many others. So anyway, it's hard for us to comprehend, that's the point, how this would all work. And additionally, the Prachetas were given full bodily strength to enjoy material facilities. So here they're giving perfect health and body to enjoy. And the purpose, not just to enjoy, but to continue rendering devotional service. So Prabhupada explains further that when the devotional service, when one is strongly fixed in devotional service and free from all material attachments, then he becomes uncontaminated by the three modes and fit to go back home, back to Godhead. So two things, strongly fixed in devotional service and free from all material attachments. Then the three modes of nature cannot contaminate him, cover him, go back to Godhead. Here in the material world, danger at every step, not a very comfortable place. Thus, when one acts, he has to offer the results of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and pass his life always engaged in topics of the Lord. Even though such a person may be participating in family life, he is not affected by the results of his action. So a little advice from Srila Prabhupada on how to have perfect family life. So we can see Prabhupada is giving so many important points in these purports. And so many topics. 1 second. Bondage. It's okay, we have, wow. Okay, we're going, that's good. Let's stop for a moment here and ask if there are any questions or comments. because there are many topics here we've been covering, and it would be very natural for you to have questions. So please raise your hand. Otherwise, I will have to assume you all have deep understanding of all these topics. Anyone have any questions? Leela Priya Shama, do you have any question now?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. No Prabhuji, no questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Jia Kumari, Mataji, you are there in Pakistan. What
Hare
special
Krishna Prabhuji.
standings can you share with us?
Prabhuji, I like the point in this. Topic of Pachitas, and the main point that the way they the way I'm sorry. Give me a few minutes. I'll share later. Hare Krishna.
Yes, go ahead. You want to share later? Is that what you said?
Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
All right. Anyone else? Gita Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Pranam.
Oh, Amarendra. Yes.
Prabhuji, I want to ask that in our Vedic culture, it is allowed to for women do marry with more than one person, or it is exception case only.
No. Within ISKCON is not allowed to one woman to marry multiple men, nor for one man to have multiple wives. Prabhupada says it's Kali Yuga, cannot do it. We have enough trouble with one wife. Trying to have many would be quite beyond our capability.
But we see in Prabhuji Vedic culture that many people used to do marry with many women, and Prabhupada is writing in Krishna book Prabhuji in Vasudev ji case that it is allowed for a person who can marry more than one woman, because in generally it's a number of women in the society is more than the men. So it is allowed, or it should be means the king should marry more than wife so that he can protect more and more women. So it is allowed for men, but I'm asking for women, Prabhuji, as Draupadi as
Well,
five, or
Prabhupada said in the purport
the
that it's
this
not.
Marisa as having 10. But it is normal, or
Prabhupada said it takes a very, very extraordinary woman. She has to treat each husband equally, and that's difficult. No favorites, no special treatment for anyone, and yet her affection must be equally shared. And for the man, we have to actually know that there may be in the future some occasions, but the real point is to go back home to Godhead, not to create big family life and get more and more entangled. It is difficult to maintain one wife, and to maintain more requires so much time. And oftentimes the whole point is that one wants to continue to have sex life without any stoppage. So this is not very healthy for Krishna consciousness.
Yes, Prabhuji. That's why I've taken this decision, Prabhuji.
Anyone else? Any other comments? Okay, let us go on a little further. One who offers results or profits to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, does not become entangled in the results. So this is something Prabhupada expresses again and again, that the grihastas, they have to maintain their households. They have to earn so much profit, so much result. But they have to worship Krishna with that. Otherwise, they will become entangled. They will not, their spiritual life will be interrupted. This is the secret to success. So we're not simply talking material success, big business, lots of money, but our success is that we go back home to Godhead. If we become very successful and earning lots of money and accumulating big bank balance, but we don't go back to Godhead, then Prabhupada repeatedly, again and again, tells us this is a waste. Your whole life is a waste. You know, I remember one little play or skit that we did, and it was about the boatman. And the boatman is taking across some passenger across the river, which is very, very turbulent, very scary. And this person he's carrying, he's a scholar and, successful man. He gets in the boat and he says, "Oh, sir, do you have a PhD, Mr. Boatman?" And he said, "No." He said, "Oh, 25% of your life is wasted. You don't have good education. And have you accumulated big profits, made lots of money?" "No." "Oh, 50% of your life is wasted." And then as they're going across the river, it becomes turbulent and the boat is about to capsize, turn over. And the boatman says to the passenger, he said, "Sir, do you know how to swim?" And the man says, "No." And the boatman says, "Yes, sir. Well, 100% of your life is now wasted." And this was used as an example because 100% of our life is wasted if we don't become Krishna conscious. Simply going through birth, death, old age, and disease, trying to enjoy something in this material world, this is not success. Well, this Krishna consciousness movement is very wonderful because it keeps one always engaged in Krishna service. Well, how is that? Devotees think of Krishna, they act for Krishna, they eat for Krishna, they sleep for Krishna, they work for Krishna. Total life in Krishna consciousness saves one from material contamination. So if we dovetail everything in the service of the Lord, that is good. But if we can't, give up the material. If one is capable of dovetailing, but instead renounces the material world, Prabhupada calls that a great blunder. So just like we have this Rukmini Hari Sevani Mataji, she had so much talent in her previous profession. And now she's using that same talent in her service in Vrindavan. So to give up and say, no, I cannot do these things, that was my material life, that would be a great mistake. So we have to learn how to dovetail everything. Very important. And this is the essence which makes Krishna consciousness so much different from all other spiritual practices. How to dovetail what we already can do for Krishna. So if one is placed in material opulence due to the special mercy of the Supreme Personality of God, he should not consider that opulence is a cause for bondage. When a mature devotee blessed with material opulence, he does not become adversely affected. He knows how to employ the material opulence in the service of Krishna. So, of course, there are so many different examples, but one example that comes to my mind is my godbrother Ambarish Prabhu. He is a wealthy man, but he is using his wealth, his influence, being the great-grandson of Henry Ford, all his assets to build the Temple of Vedic Planetarium, which will be a great achievement for ISKCON and for Srila Prabhupada for thousands of years to come. So this wealth could be a bondage, but using it for Krishna, one does not become bound, one does not become entangled. Okay, so now chanting is always fresh. Interesting to understand this. So always engaging in activities of devotional service, devotees feel ever increasingly fresh and new in all their activities. The all-knower, the super soul within the heart of the devotee makes everything increasingly fresh. This is known as Brahman position by the advocates of absolute truth. Prabhupada gave a simple example in his lectures, especially in the early days, that one can go on chanting Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola all day, but he will become tired of chanting those words. But we go on day after day, so many hours chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. It is always fresh. It is always encouraging. If we don't find it fresh, if we don't find it giving us satisfaction, then we know something is not right. Because this is Ananda Buddhi Vardhanam. It is an ocean of happiness. We have to have this experience, come to this realization, as Rupa Goswami says, that when I chant, I desire many thousands of years to hear this mantra and many, many tongues with which to chant the mantra. And then my heart becomes filled with peace when the mantra enters my heart, Krishna enters my heart. So he has gotten so much happiness, bliss from this chanting. He requires more and more tongues and ears. So we should pray to have that kind of devotion for chanting of the holy name for all our services. Prabhupada says, as our chanting is increased, it will come out new and fresh. There is nothing uninspiring for a highly advanced devotee. The Super Soul gives instruction to the sincere unalloyed devotee on how he can progress more and more in approaching the Supreme. Being inspired by him, the devotee experiences transcendental bliss in the execution of his devotional service. So we know that in the spiritual world, same activities are going on serving Krishna. We read in the Krishna book so many activities. But each day, each time, they're everly increasingly fresh and new. And devotees are feeling so much bliss. It is not like the material world, that after you do something for a while, it becomes boring. It becomes unsatisfying. We become tired. So it's not like that. Chanting always new and fresh. Whatever success we want to attain in life can be attained by the mercy of the Lord. When an unalloyed devotee chants Hare Krishna mantra, he is purified of all material contamination because the Lord and his name are identical. So all this material contamination is there. And we will see a little example here in the Prachetas, how they were benedicted to have a long life in the material world. We cannot imagine. But they were benedicted to live for 1 million years. And so the material energy caused some impurities, contamination they felt in the heart. So we will see in the next chapter how that they still attained perfection. If a devotee chants and hears, he becomes purified. Gradually all material contamination disappears. But devotees do sometimes become dissatisfied at not seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead personally. Yesterday was the anniversary of Mother Jamuna Devi. I think it was her disappearance. A great god sister who was very dear to Srila Prabhupada. And I was just reading one of her prayers. She prayed that she could just meet Prabhupada in person one more time. Because devotees feel dissatisfied. They want to see the Lord. They want to get the association with Srila Prabhupada. This is very, very nice. So let me just check here on schedule. Oh, Jenny Boy Fish. So little early here, but I want to stop and take some questions. So many topics we have covered here. Again, more questions. And let us see who may have some questions. Priya Satyabhama, are you there with us? Any question?
Yes, Prabhuji, I'm here, but thank you.
Go ahead, you're a little echoing. But
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, can
I think your speakers are echoing into your...
let me fix it, Prabhuji. Let me fix it.
All right, we'll come back in a minute. Ananda Leela Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Any questions or comments?
My only question is when we actually hear and read, it all looks very easy and straightforward. But then actually when it comes to practicing like cooperation and like even this chanting with unalloyed, like when an unalloyed devotee chants Hare Krishna mantra. So when it just seems sometimes I mean, oftentimes to reach that unalloyed state is quite far from where I am right now. And so what to speak of, then, that kind of purification and reaching that goal is sometimes it seems, oh, it's going to take lifetimes.
So is that like a question or what?
Yeah.
And the question is exactly what then?
Like it feels, when we hear it, it's like, yes, we should be doing that, but actually when it comes to practicing or putting that into our actual lives, when we're dealing with the situation, it's not that easy or straightforward, those.
Hmm. Hmm. Yes, that's true. There's so much challenge for us. We are conditioned. We've been here in the material world millions and millions of lifetimes. And to gain complete success in one lifetime seems almost impossible. But Prabhupada said, just chant 16 rounds every day, avoiding the 10 offenses, and follow the 4 principles, and then you will guarantee go back home to Godhead. And Krishna, because Prabhupada said it, makes those words true. So we have great hope that all this will come. And we keep up this process of which is purifying us. Dissatisfaction comes because of the material energy, because of these coverings. So we have to continue to purify our hearts. And we want to see with the correct vision. Shastra Chakshush. See through the Shastra. In chapter 31, Prabhupada will go into a little detail about how a devotee sees the material world. And he says this change will come. So we have to also take note of our progress and not become discouraged. It may seem a little slow at times. And we know we have these contaminations that we're becoming free of. But I was like really encouraged the other day. I heard His Holiness Kadamba Kana Maharaj, who has gone back to Godhead. He was saying that when one hits the stage of Nishta, he characterized it as giving up any hope of finding solutions to our problems in the material world. Our only solution is Krishna consciousness. So I think for me that kind of put it in a bit of a perspective that we're no longer trying to find happiness, satisfaction in the material world. We know it doesn't exist there. And to be convinced of that and stop endeavoring for that is a sign that we're advancing. And particularly, you are living in the holy Dham of Mayapur. So this is the spiritual world. May not always seem like the spiritual world, but that's due to our conditioning. We need to continue to hear and to cleanse our consciousness so that we develop the right kind of vision. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you.
So G. Kumari has written something. She said, Prabhuji, something I like the most in the story of the Prachetas is that when we are servants of Krishna, we don't need to do extra endeavor to please some other demigods. They by themselves will appear to bless us exactly like Lord Shiva came before the Prachetas. So, yes, may have glossed over that, but we'll come back to that later. That by pleasing Krishna, everyone in the material world is satisfied. We'll talk later, probably tomorrow, about how all living entities are benefited by devotional service, by our devotional service. So that is a good realization. That we just want to do good for others. Perhaps, I don't know, maybe this will help Ananda Leela a little bit. That simply live a life of doing good for others. Giving Krishna consciousness. Sharing Krishna consciousness. Okay, so does anyone else want to add anything? Ras Raman Krishna, Prabhu, you have something? Or Giriraj, Prabhu?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam Prabhu.
Dandavat Pranam.
Prabhuji, we are out in the book distribution.
Oh, wonderful.
So I am only hearing, Prabhuji, I am sorry. I am only hearing, Prabhuji. We are doing book distribution.
That's okay. That's good.
Yes, Prabhuji. Because this is the last weekend, Prabhuji, for book distribution. So this is the only time we get to do book distribution, because otherwise we are busy in the office. So this is the...
It's good. It's good. Very good. I'm very happy to hear that. I remember after I was initiated by Srila Prabhupada, I wanted to do something to please him. So I remember I had some 2 weeks vacation time came. This was like 1977, I think. So those 2 weeks, I went out and joined the Brahmachari Sankirtan book distribution. And for me, it was extremely austere because they went in the bus, in the van. And it was very cold. They would get a hotel room when we stopped in one city, and they would put, instead of 2 or 4 devotees, we would have like 8. We'd be sleeping all over, and the rooms were not kept nicely, so you could smell the cigarette smoke from people who had stayed there before. Difficult. And then that's one place they dropped us. There was a big snowstorm all day. So you don't have such big snowstorms, maybe, I don't know. But it snowed. It snowed all day. Many centimeters, maybe like 1 meter of snow. And so we finally came to the city with great difficulty where we were supposed to distribute books. And the devotee was driving. His name was now Badri Narayan Swami. And, he's GBC in America here. And He pulled in the parking lot. The whole parking lot was practically empty, covered with snow. I thought the stores would probably close. He said, no, they're still open. I see the sign. He said, you go there and you stand outside in front of that store and do Sankirtan. By myself. And I went there and I was freezing. And people would stop and they would say, oh, you look so cold. Here's some donation. It's very difficult, but I know Prabhupada was very pleased by that service. Even though I had no experience, I was very, very poor in the quality of book distribution. Still, I was trying. So this is what we want to do. Please, Srila Prabhupada, please our Guru, please Lord Chaitanya by this preaching. So please continue, Guru. Thank you. Anyone else? Kishori Chitra Devi Dasi. You were there today. Any thoughts or questions from our discussion today?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam. Nahi Prabhuji, sorry. My
So
neck
you,
is a little bit very low. So sometimes it is connecting, sometimes I'm losing it. Sorry.
I see. Anything
Yeah.
that's stuck out in your mind that you did here?
Actually, Prabhuji, I'm learning so much from you, and I have not attended due to the book distribution so much. Sorry. I have some temple seva with me. So we are doing book distribution, and little I have attended, to be very honest.
Oh, okay. Well, let me not interrupt that great service.
Yeah, thank you so
All
much.
blessings and good fortune.
I will
for
go
you.
through by the
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji,
recordings.
Dandavad Pranam.
Yes, who is that?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, go ahead.
It was Amrendra Hari Prabhu. Amrendra Hari Prabhu.
Oh, maybe I don't know if he's raising the hand. Something. Please go
Hare
ahead.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Am I audible, Prabhuji?
I'm not sure. Was that a question? I didn't hear
I
it.
want.
Yes,
Yes, it is. I want to ask that, Prabhuji, as you have told that sloka for Rup Goswami, that he is having such a taste for holy name that he wants 10,000 years or 10 lakhs of tongues and ears. So how we can attain such type of taste, Prabhuji? Because you are Sri Prabhupada disciple and so many years your experience of chanting. So how we can, and Prabhuji, how much time it take to um, pass over the time of unearth nivriti, Prabhuji? Can you please explain?
Time for what?
Passing this stage unearth nivriti, what is the ideal time? Is that if you chant 10 year or 15 year or 20 year or 30 year, then you'll come on the stage of unearth nivriti or
Oh,
nishtha?
no. It's not like that. There is actually a verse in the Bhagavatam that stated that Bhakti is completely independent. It may come very quickly and it may never come at all. So we are simply begging for mercy constantly. When we're chanting, when we're praying to the deity, we're simply begging for mercy. There's not much hope for us otherwise. At least that's my understanding. That we need mercy. His Holiness Gaur Govinda Maharaj, he said, we are not opening up temples, we are opening up schools to learn how to cry for Krishna, begging Krishna, please be kind, be merciful. Pleasing the Lord, begging Lord Nityananda, Daya Kora Mora Nitai, Daya Kora Mora Nitai. Just begging. My dear Lord, I am so fallen. You please first consider me. Give me your mercy. I need this mercy, otherwise there's no hope for me. Similarly, we associate with devotees and chant with devotees, and therefore we get very nice taste. Serving devotees will please the Lord very much. And go on, because the promise is there. We'll attain perfection, which is amazing. You know, that in one lifetime we can attain such perfection. We do not have to meditate under the water for 10,000 years, like the Prachetas. So
How
Srila
we can
Prabhupada, huh?
how we can develop such consciousness of praying, Prabhuji? But we not pray like that, Prabhuji. Yeah, Krishna, I need your blessing. I only need your blessing. I need only taste. I need, Prabhuji, we need so much things and taste also. It's one thing, Prabhuji. So how we can develop that consciousness, that eagerly crying for Krishna? Prabhuji, it's not happened to me, Prabhuji.
Keep praying. Pray very sincerely from the heart. I don't know if you have access to any of Gaur Govinda Swami Maharaj's books, but he's written some very excellent books that give that mood. Srila Prabhupada, of course, is giving us that mood. And, associating with devotees. Going and associating with devotees in that mood. You have Krishna, you can give me Krishna. Please let me serve you. The more we become humble like that, the better we are attracted to Krishna. Is that okay?
Okay, Prabhuji. Yeah, try, Prabhuji. Please give your.
Anyone else? So we can stop here and take a break. You can chant Gayatri or whatever you need to do for about 15 minutes. Then we'll rejoin in 15 minutes. Is that okay? Please, go ahead. Take a break. And then we'll rejoin and finish this chapter.
Okay, Prabhuji. Okay.
Hmm. Hare Krishna. Sorry, I sent a picture to Ananda Leela. If she could please post it for everyone in the chat session, that would be nice. Oh, let me see. I'm sorry, I'm looking for something that I wanted to share with you, but I can't find it. Oh, there it is. Okay. Download. No. Come on. There you go. Okay, I have sent you the connection to this newsletter, which some of you may know, I don't know. The newsletter is called, let's see. Oh, upload. Okay, I'll get it. 1 second. I'm sorry, so much delay. There. Okay, there you go. So I had mentioned Gaur Govindaswamy Maharaj and his works, and this newsletter I sent, you can subscribe to it. Very, very amazing newsletter, comes out every month by his leading disciple, Madhavananda Prabhu. Those of you who don't know Gaur Govindaswamy, my god brother, guru, BBC, everything, he left this world in 1996. He was in Sridham Mayapur at the time, and it was on the appearance day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. He was in his room, and he was speaking Krishna Katha about Krishna and the gopis. In the middle of speaking, he suddenly stopped. He said, "Please excuse me." He lied down and he left his body. Just like that. In Mayapur, speaking Krishna Katha on the appearance day of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta. So, very special. Oh, excuse me. Darn, my mistake. I didn't do this right. Gosh, please excuse me. Oh, I didn't realize I sent only to Jai Kumari. Here's how you write to get the subscription to the newsletter. And this is the newsletter. Okay, now you all got it. Okay, so But anyway, just wanted to share that with you. Please look into that. He has a few books. I don't know if they're available, but they are excellent books for going deeper in your Krishna consciousness. Sri Krishna Kathamrita. Bindu. Anyway, I don't know if there's any questions about this, but we can continue. So, Prachetas, they're offering prayers to the Lord. And this is just a quick summary. Namo Nama Klesha Vinashanaya. The Lord relieves all material distress. Nirupito Dara Gunadvaya. Has all auspicious qualities and holy name. Manovacha Vega Pura Javaya is faster than the mind and words, and he cannot be perceived by the material senses. The Lord's interaction with the material world. You are peaceful, pure, and fixed in your Swarup, and you make the material world of duality appear meaningless. Some more statements by the Prachetas, seeing the Supreme Lord Narayan. Your appearances as Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva are meant for creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the cosmic manifestation. More qualities. The Lord exists completely independent of all material influences. He takes away a devotee's misery. His brain works only to deliver the conditioned souls, and he lives everywhere as Paramatma. And, this is for you, he increases the influence of all kinds of devotees. So, like Mother Ananda Leela, she'll become more and more influential on the material non-devotees. From your abdomen sprouts the lotus flower, the origin of all living entities. You are always decorated with a lotus garland. Your feet are beautiful and fragrant as a lotus, and your eyes are like a lotus petal. So let's go a little deeper in these things. Dear Lord, you relieve all kinds of material distress. This is the Prachetas praying to the Lord who has appeared before them. Your magnanimous transcendental qualities and holy name are all auspicious. This conclusion is already settled. You can go faster than the speed of the mind and words. You cannot be perceived by the material senses, and we therefore offer respectful obeisances to you again and again. When a devotee engages his senses in favorably in the devotional service of the Lord, through the causeless mercy, the Lord reveals himself to the devotee. This is the conclusive Vedic process. The Vedas also indicate that simply by chanting the holy names of the Lord, one can, without doubt, become spiritually advanced. So for those of you who are asking about that, Prabhupada is answering your question right here. What more could you want? Just keep chanting. To maintain the three modes of material nature, though the Supreme Lord takes on different forms, as Lord Brahma, Lord Vishnu, Lord Shiva, the conclusion is that although a pure devotee appears to engage in material activities in the service of the Lord, he knows very well that material enjoyment for sense gratification has no use whatsoever. So he's doing the same activities, potentially, but then he's serving the Lord by those activities. He does not want to enjoy material sense gratification anymore. It's useless. It's a waste of time. It will only end up in what? Rukmini, what will material sense gratification result in?
It will just put us into samsara. And it will
Yes.
let it be in the cycle of birth and death.
And to put it another way, it will just put us in misery. No solutions in the material world. Where? Day. Oh, okay. We're going quickly. So now we will see what happens. Okay, hold on. I'm adjusting my screen a little bit. Lord Vishnu is distinguished in the words Namo Vishuddha Sattvaya. Semi-Lord Shiva holds almost all the powers of Lord Vishnu, but he also is above the living entities. But he's not exactly like Vishnu. So this we learn from Nectar of Devotion, specifically, that Lord Shiva is not an ordinary living entity. He is even above Lord Brahma, but he is not Vishnu. Many people in the Hindu culture worship Lord Shiva, but we see that the gopis, they worship Lord Shiva, what? To attain love for Krishna. That's all. So, very important statement to think about. Lord Vishnu, he wants to see that his devotees are also entrusted with unlimited powers. And devotee of the Lord is always therefore distinguished from all other living entities. The Lord is always planning ways to deliver the conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya. So the Lord wants to see his devotees have unlimited power. Very interesting statement. We know that spiritual power is what the devotees want. They don't want material powers. Material powers are just a headache. My dear Lord, the garment you put on is yellowish in color, like the saffron of the lotus flower. And the garments of the Lord are also the Lord himself. So, another little side thing you could do to keep the Lord always with you, you can approach the deity department and see if they have any remnants, clothes, ornaments of the deity that they would give you for some donation, and you keep those with you. And as good as having the Supreme Lord with you at all times. So I mean, like Rukmini Arisevani, she could perhaps help some of you. She's in Vrindavan. She can go to the Pujari department and say, please give any little thing I can share with the devotees. Of course, I think they also sell some things, but those are bigger items usually. Very nice. The conditioned soul also has desires, and he acts in accordance to those desires. So he's having material desires. All these acts are observed by the Supreme Lord, and he gives the living entity intelligence. According to the desire of the living entity, the Lord makes him remember or forget. So this interesting statement, how the Supreme Lord is there, he's actually the wish-fulfilling person who's there for the conditioned soul. He's giving them whatever they want. And he's also making them forget. And what do they mostly want to forget? They want to forget him. They want to forget his presence. They want to forget that he is the supreme controller, creator, maintainer, and destroyer of this material world. that they are eternally his servant. They want to forget that. Otherwise, it's not possible to enjoy in the material world. When a devotee wants to serve the Supreme Lord, as the Lord as Paramatma gives the devotee the intelligence to progress in devotional service. The Lord directly witnesses our activities and experiences our desires. Whoa. So be careful what you desire. The Supreme Lord gives us facilities to act in the way we wish. Interesting. There was one time Srila Prabhupada was being interviewed. I'll stop just for a second and ask Rukmini if she could share those links and pictures and address with the devotee there who wanted to know more. He seems to be off of the session no more. He's not there with us. So, you know who I'm talking about? Rukmini?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Somehow get it to him because I can't. So a reporter one time in the airport asked Srila Prabhupada, so how is it you guide your disciples? And one of the senior devotees, well, Prabhupada said, Krishna tells me. And they said, what do you mean? And the senior devotee said, well, Krishna is in the heart, a living entity, and then he gives enlightenment. Get enlightenment like it's described here. Prabhupada said, no, Krishna tells me directly. So Prabhupada made the point that Krishna was personally talking to him. And the devotee, according to his desire, according to his purity, becomes his Ishtadeva in the heart, where the Lord is worshipped by him and he appears in that form in the heart. Otherwise, we conditioned souls are always covered by the ignorance and the bodily conception of life. Therefore, we always prefer the miserable conditions of material existence. Is that true? I hope not, but we do. We're reluctant to go back to Godhead. The appearance of the Lord diminishes all the miserable conditions caused by the material existence. All the neophytes must engage in the worship of the Lord by keeping the Archa Vigraha at home or in the temple. So even as neophytes, we can worship the Lord and he will diminish our miserable conditions just by worshiping the deity. So important this is, to worship the Lord and the deity. Okay. Lord, okay, now we're catching up more. Oh, we're behind. All right, now we have to go faster. Another summary here. Come on, back. Yeah, come on. All pervasive and supreme witness. Your non-material garments are yellow like saffron dust of the lotus. We've already gone over this. You are the all-pervasive supreme witness. To deliver the living entities, this is his mercy, From the miserable conditions you mercifully advented in your form, and what then can be said about your mercy to the devotees who are always so favorably disposed? We just discussed that. Archa you are the killer of inauspicious things, being compassionate on your poor devotees. You appear as the Archa Vigraha. So there is Krishna appearing before us in the deity form. As Super Soul, he says, the Lord, you know the desires of every living entity and fulfill them. You should say in words what you want. Interesting. So we are encouraged, as they are, to say exactly what we want. They pray, continue, we are satisfied that your Lordship is the ultimate goal of our life. We do not desire anything other than your satisfaction. So the Lord asked the Prachetas to pray for some benediction, and what do they pray for? We shall therefore pray for another benediction because you are the unlimited supreme, beyond all transcendence with unlimited, endless opulences. The ultimate benediction is that because the Lord is unlimited, Ananta, the Prachetas wanted to ask him a benediction with no limit, namely the hearing of his unlimited pastimes, qualities, forms, and names. So very special. They understood that Krishna has unlimited power. So I should ask for something very, very big. To always be engaged in chanting his glories. And they said, so therefore, then ask for as many boons as much as you want. No, they said, we only want your lotus feet in order to attain a taste for that sweetness. There is one boon we desire. We have already taken shelter of your lotus feet, that bee, a bee that has approached the Parijata tree does not need to leave it. So they're saying that we've gotten shelter of your lotus feet. We don't need other things. So let's go back quickly. The Archa Vigraha is an expansion of Krishna's unlimited potency and is gradually satisfied with the service of the devotee. In due course of time, he accepts the devotees as one of his many unalloyed servants. By nature, the Lord is very compassionate, and the service of the neophyte devotees is accepted. So that's us. The Lord here, Prabhupada is saying, the Lord is accepting our service. Do we need a bigger guarantee than that? This is wonderful, and he's there to accept it in the deity. So Rukmini is inspired. She wants to ask the question. What is that question?
Thank you, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, last way, before this statement, there was a statement that deity worship is for if a neophyte does the deity worship, something like in the previous slide. And here also it is written, the service of neophyte devotees is accepted. Does it mean that everybody can do deity worship, but it will help more the neophyte to come to the higher stage? Does it mean like? And why? My question exactly is that why neophyte is mentioned here?
What is the last part?
Why neophyte devotees are specifically mentioned here?
Why? Because we're
Neophyte devotees.
Yeah, that's
It
us.
is. So no, I was thinking that it was coming in my mind that if I talk about the very senior exalted Vaishnavas like my Guru Maharaj and so many other Maharaj, they do deity worship without fail in the morning,
Why do they
4:50.
do deity worship? Because they love Krishna. There is Krishna. They have a chance to be with Krishna. They are very, very satisfied to be in association with Krishna and serving. So Archa Vigraha is specifically mentioned in the Nectar Devotion and in other places as the way in which the neophyte can approach Krishna. is a form which he can worship, he can dress, he can touch, he can offer food, he can bathe them, so many things. So it is for us to become deeply absorbed in the Lord and his service.
Thank you so much.
And Krishna accepts. So nothing to worry about. Perfect. Now, this is a statement we should talk about for a minute. The Supreme Lord accepts bhava, the attitude of service. The neophyte engaged in the worship of the Lord may not understand the value of such worship, but the Supreme Lord, being Bhaktavatsala, the well-wisher of his devotee, accepts his devotee. He accepts even the service we offer in our minds. So, very important. Many of our senior devotees will often repeat this mood of our service, the attitude. It's not mechanical. It has to be with the idea of serving. And what is that service? Love. We want to express our love, our gratitude to the Lord by serving him. And that is what pleases the Lord. Not the actual items that are offered, because those are, the Lord has created them all anyway. They're all his. But he wants to see our mood. What is in our heart? And the pure devotee, advanced devotee, their heart is filled with Krishna prema. So when they have so much love, the Lord is attracted. Oh, he's offering me something. And therefore we even see the example of Vidura, inviting Krishna to his house, and he's feeding him what? The skins of the banana. He has so much love, so much appreciation for the Lord, that he forgot, and he's feeding him the skin, and the Lord simply accepts. Because my devotee is offered with such a mood, he accepts. So then Prabhupada continued, if a sincere devotee renders service to the Lord or to the ACBSP, the form of the Lord, all his activities prove successful because the Lord is present within his heart and understands his sincerity. If we must ask for benediction, we must ask for unlimited benediction. Wow, I bet you haven't thought of that. You want to pray to the Lord for some unlimited benediction. So we want the gift that keeps on giving. No end. So there we are. The Lord is accepting our service by the ACBSP. The understanding of the unlimited becomes unlimited by hearing and chanting. So our understanding of Krishna expands more and more by hearing and chanting. So go on, continue hearing and chanting. When a devotee is actually engaged in the service of the lotus feet of the Lord, his engagement in itself is so perfect, there is no need to ask for further benediction. What does that mean? Well, basically it means that the service itself is so pleasing, so satisfying, so complete. He doesn't need to ask for anything else. That service is all that he needs, all that he wants. So, another thing mentioned, Parijata tree. What is this? We know from Krishna book, Parijata tree found in the kingdom of Indra, on Indra's planet. And the lotus feet of the Lord are always exactly like these Parijata trees, or Prabhupada says, wish-fulfilling trees. The devotees are like bumblebees. They're always attracted to the lotus feet of the Lord. So there we have it. Prabhupada's calling us bumblebees. That's exciting, because we can always be attracted to the lotus feet of the Lord. I think Rukmini fell asleep, leaning over. Something happened. So now what has happened? What is next? We're coming to the nearer to the end of this chapter. And okay, but we have a lot to go. Okay, keep going. So here, hearing in association, life after life, that's one of the things they want to do. So we may not think of it like that, but this is the truth. The devotees want to always be there in association with devotees they can continue to hear again and again. For a pure devotee, association is the highest. A moment's association cannot be compared to transferring to the higher planets or being merged in Brahman. So that association is the highest thing. So what are these four effects? There are four things that happen as a result of hearing Krishna Katha. So again, in the previous session, you all are asking some questions. Here's Krishna Katha that should encourage us. No more hankering, no fear, no envy, and Narayan, Krishna, is personally present. These are wonderful points. Then Vachetas state that your devotees, they wander all over the earth and they purify even the holy places. By a moment's association of Lord Shiva, we attained you, the Bishak Tamam, expert physician. So now they're addressing Krishna as a physician. Expert. What is the disease? The disease of material hankering. All our spiritual assets are offered to your satisfaction. So whatever they have gained by their austerities, they're now offering to Krishna. Prabhupada will say in the purport that prayers are generally offered according to capacity. We have that example, Dhruva Maharaj. The Lord appeared before him and he couldn't speak properly. So the Lord touched him with his conch shell and then he spoke like the highest Vedic scholar. So we may have a limited capacity and we pray according to our ability. They say, you, dear Lord, are the abode of various qualities. You're equal to everyone. You're never contaminated. You are the Supreme Person. You are transcendental. You are living everywhere and you are in the transcendental position. Then the Lord departs, giving them their benedictions, and he leaves, unattached. All right, I'm leaving, goodbye. And the Pachetas return to the land. They come back, and what do they see? Trees everywhere, growing everywhere, obstructing even appears the path to the heavens. So then, from their mouths, they were angry. They exhibited this fire, burning all the forest down. And this was disturbing. Even Lord Brahma came and said, wait, hold on. This is not a good thing. They were disturbed. Why were they disturbed? Because the land, the earth is meant to produce food stuff, but instead they were just giving trees. So then the Pachetas married Marisha. They had a son named Daksha. who was expert in fruitive activity, and later Daksha engages other Prajapatis. So here, the Prajapatis' prayers. Dear Lord, as long as we have to remain within this material world, due to our material contamination, and wander from one type of body to another, from one planet to another, we pray we may be associated with those who are engaged in discussing your pastimes. We pray for this benediction, life after life, in different bodily forms and on different planets. So they are simply praying that they may be always in association of devotees discussing the pastimes of the Lord. The Lord is there. It's perfect. In the spiritual world, they're also discussing the activities of the Lord. I was reading some time ago that Radharani, she composed one song that she wanted to sing when Krishna is with her in the Kunj. And she taught it, she told her servant Rati Manjari, I will teach this to you. So she took her to a secluded place and she started teaching her this song. And as soon as they started singing the song, what happened? Krishna appeared. Because Krishna appears wherever he's being glorified. So he thought they were going to be secretly learning this tune, but Krishna immediately appeared. So later on, when Krishna is with Radharani, Rati Manjari starts singing this tune, which is so beautiful. Such a nice verses composed by Srimati Radharani, and Krishna was very pleased. So Krishna always appears in this discussion, and they knew it. They said they weren't concerned if they were born in Delhi or Hyderabad or in America or Europe or any other planets. Wherever we were born, let us be where they're discussing your pastime. So for a devotee, everything is in the spiritual world. And for as long as he can hear the pastimes of the Lord, or wherever he can chant, the Lord is there personally present. Out of humility, a devotee considers himself what? Unfit to be transferred to the spiritual world. He always thinks himself contaminated by the modes of material nature. The topmost benediction for those who are living in the material world and are subjected to the repetition of birth and death is association of devotees. So this is when we're going out on book distribution or going out and preaching, we are giving association to the conditioned souls to help them stop birth and death being repeated again and again. Very important. And this association is the primary way in which persons are attracted to the principles of Krishna consciousness. They're very attracted to the devotees. Where are we? Let's see. We're going to have to go pretty fast. Okay. Even a moment's association with a pure devotee cannot be compared to being transferred to heavenly planets or merging with Brahman. For living entities who are destined to give up the body and die, association with pure devotees is the highest benediction. So, there's your prayer. Pray to the deities. Please give me always association of your pure devotees. One should search out such pure devotees and, listen to this, and do what? Remain with them. That will make one completely happy, even though they're living within the material world. This Krishna conscious movement is started for that purpose. That we can always remain in association of pure devotees, hearing and chanting about Krishna. So, wherever topics in the transcendental world are discussed, members of the audience forget all kinds of material hankerings, at least for the time being. Not only that, but they are no longer envious of one another, nor do they suffer fear or anxiety. A place immediately becomes Vaikuntha wherever the holy topics of the personality of Godhead are discussed by pure devotees. So just as Krishna Katha, the conditioned souls can appreciate so much. Their hankerings go away. They're no longer envious. No more fear. It's a wonderful experience. So we invite them to come to our temples, to come to our meetings. Because of the presence of the Lord in the form of transcendental vibration, the Vaikuntha atmosphere is evoked. The method of propagation of Shravanam Kirtanam process throughout the world. So we encourage this hearing and chanting to bring this Vaikuntha atmosphere, which will attract people, help them become free from their anxieties, their fears. In the animalistic society, envy exists. Also, even in human society, as long as they don't perform Sankirtan Yogya. So we can see so much fighting in the world because of no Sankirtan. Those who are liberated from material contamination recite the holy name again and again. To identify Narayan with the demigods, like you were asking before, like Brahma and Shiva, is an offense. Narayan is immediately present in the form of Lord Chaitanya, and an attempt to become Narayan becomes the greatest offense. Without Narayan or Sankirtan Yogya, there cannot be peace in this world. So a very important point. We see, and especially it seems in this year, peace is going far away. Everyone wants to fight. All the demons want to fight. Because there is insufficient Sankirtan Yogya, they cannot have peace. Let's see if we can come back to that point and discuss it more later. We have quite a bit to go yet. Okay. So, what is a Gostyanandi? You may ask that question. It's one who desires to increase the number of devotees all over the world. He travels all over the world just to purify the world and the people residing in it. The devotee goes to preach the glories of the Lord everywhere, even in hell, because there is no distinction between heaven and hell for a devotee. The intelligent men are interested in understanding the Supreme Lord, and the people who are already disgusted with material existence may take advantage of the pure devotee who wanders throughout the world. Just reminds me of this mood of Sankirtan sometimes, is that you want to spend your time, as Vaisheshika says, with the ripe fruit, the low-hanging fruit. We have limited time, and we don't want to waste time debating, discussing with the people who are really not interested. We want to talk to those who have interest, and they're already disgusted with material existence. You'd think that would be everybody, but it's not. conditions in this world continue. Sinful reactions. Then people, what do? They go to the holy places to get rid of their sinful reactions. They know, oh, I've done so many things. And when the devotee goes there, that place is purified. So then the Prachetas continue. My dear Lord, you are the most expert physician, and you are capable of treating the incurable disease of material existence. Incurable. So that's why we need mercy, because our disease is incurable. On account of our great fortune, we've been able to take shelter of your lotus feet. Then Prabhupada points out, sometimes people go for material benedictions to the demigods, but these sometimes result in the destruction of these so-called devotees of the demigods, like Ravana. He wanted some benediction and he was ultimately destroyed. To get material benedictions from Lord Shiva is not difficult, but these are not benedictions. The real benediction is to attain the shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Vishnu is honored and offered obeisances by Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. So even Shiva and Brahma are offering obeisances to Lord Vishnu, and we don't want to ask for material benedictions, especially from Lord Shiva. Anyone who is advanced in devotional service certainly knows his duty. What is that duty? To liberate the fallen conditioned souls. So it doesn't matter whether his duty is considered violent or non-violent. If it is sanctioned and ordered by the Supreme Lord, it must be performed. Never are they enemies of the poor animals. Then Prabhupada talks about Aryans. When they eat, these are the highly elevated souls, pious souls. They eat only prescribed vegetables, fruits, vegetables, milk, etc. So these are the foods for the highly elevated persons. Now we're coming closer to the end, and then we'll have questions. So the Prachetas here, they're saying, we cannot understand your glories and potencies. We have offered prayers according to our own capacities. So they were limited, they felt limited in how they could pray. It is not possible to measure the complete glories of the Supreme Lord who is unlimited. Even the Lord himself, Ananta, cannot reach the limit of the Lord's glories in many years. So offering essential prayers to the Lord, Vasudev, and he lives everywhere. He kills the demons, Parichanaya Sadhuna Vinishjaya Chaduskritam. And he performs acts even not sanctioned in the Vedic principles. Krishna can do that. Those acts sometimes are considered sinful. But even though he acts in those ways, he's never contaminated by his actions. So Lord Krishna can act in any way, pious or sinful. There's no problem. He's not contaminated. And Prachetas are appreciating that. So here, the Lord was worshipped by the Prachetas, who replied, and the Lord said, whatever you have prayed may be fulfilled. So he's granting them for all their desires. But the Prachetas were unwilling to be separated from him because they had not seen him to the full satisfaction. The Lord has his unlimited kindness for his devotees, but he's not attached to anyone. So even they had the association of the Lord, they were not fully set. They wanted more. But the Lord, he left of his own free will. And after he left, then what? The Prachetas find the trees on the land grown very tall, and the trees covered the entire surface of the world. At that time, the Prachetas became very angry because food grains were not being produced and there was no agriculture. Lands are properly utilized, then there will be no scarcity of food. Yogya attracts rain. People, sometimes the scientists and leaders, they say, oh, we're overpopulation, we cannot feed such population. But actually there's sufficient land, it's just not being used. Not being used properly. So that is a faulty argument. So the Prachetas being upset, they emitted fire and air from their mouth, and it burned down all these trees. And then Prabhupada says, a dhira, a sober person, never becomes angry because he's always situated in devotional service. One who can control his senses is the king of senses. Then, because they were getting all burned up, the trees cried out, were crying, and Lord Brahma appeared to save the remaining trees who were very much afraid of the Prachetas. And they immediately delivered their daughter, Marissa, at the advice of Lord Brahma. She was born of Kandu and Pramlocha. The child was crying, and the king of the moon took compassion upon her, saving her by putting a finger in her mouth. And she was then given to the trees to take care of her. Amazing. Let's see. So now we're coming to the last part of this chapter. There was a son from Marissa, and that son was Daksha. Daksha, remember from earlier in the Bhagavatam, was cursed by Lord Shiva. He disrespected Lord Shiva, and he had to take his birth again and go through that whole process of birth. So here he was the son of the Prachetas. But as we see here, he is not an ordinary person. And Prabhupada makes a comment about Kali Yuga. He says, having no knowledge of the eternity of the spirit soul and its transmigration, the total population in the age of Kali is very bad, lazy, unfortunate, disturbed by material conditions. Daksha he was creating all the desired living entities for the Chakshush Manvantar. Period. Then Prabhupada explains there's so many Manus, 14 Manus in one day of Brahma. One day. In 1 year of Brahma, there's 5,040 Manus. Each Manu lives 4,320,000 years, multiplied by 71. So he did all this to fill up the world with progeny for the Chakshush Manvantar. Period. Who is this Daksha? He had super excellence in his body luster. He covered his opulence, diminished the opulence of everybody else. And he was very, very expert in performing fruitive activity. In other words, he knew all the karma kanda sections of the Vedas, how to get particular results. So Lord Brahma engaged him in generating living entities and maintaining them. And this Daksha is such an extraordinary person. He was almost as powerful as Lord Brahma. So here we are. That is the end. But sorry I rushed a bit. We were trying to bring up a few points. But now I should stop for questions because so much was covered. So who is there with us that wants to ask some question? Vaibhava Pradyumna, please speak. Can't hear you. Can anyone hear him? I'm not hearing him.
We are not able to hear you.
Others who want to ask some question? Giriraj, Das? We'll come back to Pallava if he fixes his mic.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes.
Yes. Question, comments?
No, no questions and comments, Prabhuji. Right now, I'm just hearing Prabhuji.
You're also on Sankirtan?
No, Prabhuji, not Sankirtan, book distribution, Prabhuji. So we are doing book distribution in the mall. 1 second, please. Like this. So we have a small table, and the devotees are uh, we are doing the book distribution in a mall, shopping mall, Prabhuji.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yes.
May you be all successful.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Anyone else want to make a comment, question?
Prabhuji, can you please try speaking once again?
Am I audible now, Mataji?
Yes. Good.
Yes. Yes. Thank you so much. So, Prabhuji, I was asking, here you narrated a passage where, one of the demigods put his finger in the mouth of Daksha, it was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a similar passage in the ninth canto where I believe the one of the ascendants or descendants, it was of Ishwaku, one of the kings, he, consumes the holy water, which was meant for his wives, because they did not have children, and he bore a child, but he could not rear the child, nourish the child. So Indra put his finger in the mouth of that child as well to nourish the child. So this putting finger in the mouth of babies to nourish them business, I didn't quite follow. So could you please explain, Prabhuji, how this works exactly?
Sounds mystical to me. Means it's hard to explain, but somehow or other, due to the powers of the demigod, they're able to satisfy the child. And more than that, I'm not aware.
Thank you, Prabhuji. I had one more question. When we talk about devotional service, we often hear about that. If let's say for some reason, devotional service is left incomplete, or we don't start from A again. If we've reached till B, C, D, F, wherever, we start from that point again. Yet in a lecture of Prabhupada, I was hearing, that if you fall down, if you deviate from devotional service, then it could mean, many millions of births before you get the human birth again, and, opportunity to resume your devotional life. So how do we reconcile these two, Prabhuji?
That's up to Krishna. Krishna decides what is required. This is in the story of Bharat Maharaj. He was on a platform practically of Bhava, and yet he had to become a deer. So that's Krishna's choice. What he thinks we need to learn a lesson.
Basically,
talks about becoming an animal in Vrindavan for one life. monkey, dog, pig, something. So Krishna has so many options, and he looks at you and decides what your case deserves. But it's always for our best. I hope you're not too worried.
No, Prabhuji. I think I've realized it's going to be a Hetuki Kripa if at all.
The best thing,
No
if
political.
possible, is to leave this body surrounded by the chanting of the holy name.
Right. Right.
That,
Right.
so I thought I saw a hand from Ananda Leela. Is that possible?
Yeah, I have a question, like, in the last verses where it was shown, I think the last slide or somewhere, where the trees were burning and Brahma had come to pacify. I mean, I wasn't very clear if they were, if the Prachetas were not happy when the Lord was leaving, and that much is understood that they really wanted to see him more. But then, how did this happen? The trees on land, and they became very angry, and the food grains were not.
Well, you have to understand, they were the sons of Pratinabari, so they were meant to take over his responsibilities as kings, rulers of the world, and that means they had to see that the four ashrams were active and sufficiently doing their duties. And when they saw the trees were overwhelming, they knew that agriculture was not being done sufficiently. So they were angry that this wasn't going. They were, you could say, clearing the land. But the trees were kind of worried. It would get out of hand, burn everything up. Just like Dhruv Maharaj, he was very upset when his brother was killed by, what was it, the Yakshas, I think? And he started fighting with them and killing them more and more and more. And then finally he was interrupted and say, hey, you've killed enough, stop. So nice to have that kind of help. Are you also trying to burn some trees also?
No. No.
Making a new place for some house for Mayapur?
No, Prabhu.
Okay.
Thank you.
I forget where it was. There was some comment Prabhupada made that people are saying, oh, they're destroying the rainforest and Amazon and all that. So, and Prabhupada didn't think that was a big thing. That it was, but of course what they're doing is destroying the rainforest to create farms to grow and kill cows. And of course that is very simple. Rukmini has a question.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for this session. Prabhuji, there was one line that sinful reactions left by the sinful men are neutralized by the devotee. Can I please request you to tell something?
Well, this is talking about in the holy places. The people go there, they take their bath, and they leave their sinful activities there. They go there to become relieved. And the devotees, they also go to these places, but by their presence, all these sinful reactions are removed. So that is their potency, that is their power. So you being in Vrindavan chanting You are relieving the holy Dhamma Vrindavan of all the sinful burdens. That is what devotees are doing there also. Did you know that?
Prabhuji, I'm a struggling sadhaka. I just perform little service like this.
Well, if you're chanting the holy name, that's of effect. Anyone else have any question? I may be wrong, but it looks like maybe Jia Kumari has a question. I'm not sure. She don't like to speak, she just like writes.
No, Prabhuji, I don't have any questions.
That means you understand everything perfectly. That's good.
Uh, I don't know whether I have understood everything perfectly, but I like the class. I mean, I think you have described everything which we have to know. I mean, thank you so much.
My experience is every time you read the Bhagavatam, it is fresh again. You get more and more out of it.
Yes.
I could tell one story, little personal story, I don't know. I will share because I want to encourage you all. Some years ago, maybe 25 years ago, I was feeling very separated from Prabhupada, and I was praying to him, please, somehow or other, I want your association again. So then I had a dream one night, and I have in my house one murti of Prabhupada, medium size. And in the dream, the murti was there. And because it was like year 2000, my dear friend, guide Tamal Krishna Maharaj, was also there. And they were speaking. Prabhupada was speaking the deity form to Tamal Krishna Maharaj, and he was speaking back. And I had my question. I saw Prabhupada. I said, Prabhupada, please, you have to come back to my house. I was afraid the deity was leaving. And Prabhupada turned to Tamal Krishna Maharaj. He said, he is inviting me to come, but he does not understand. I've installed one phone in his house and he is never answering. He is not answering. And when I woke up, I realized Prabhupada was saying his books were there in my house and I wasn't reading and studying them sufficiently. So we can have that association of Srila Prabhupada by reading his books, and they're always fresh. You'll get deeper and deeper realizations. So we're sneaking over the boundaries. I hope I'm not keeping you all awake or anything. And I can take a couple more questions, or we can stop here. That's up to you. What do you think, Rukmini? You're the moderator.
I can ask devotees, does anyone have any question? I think Prabhuji, nobody has question. Everything it was explained. So
They're all very busy distributing books, or they're already understood. Very good. So
they
let's.
might ask tomorrow.
Huh? Go ahead.
They might ask tomorrow after hearing recording, as Giraj Prabhu was saying that he hears. Sometimes he's not doesn't attend, so he hears. He might ask tomorrow.
You are recording all these?
Yes, Prabhuji. We are recording.
I'd like to know if it's possible you can send me the links.
Sure, Prabhuji. I will send.
Yeah, I have some devotees who might like to participate and listen to these. So tomorrow we'll come back together and finish the 31st chapter. Jai, all glories to Srimad Bhagavatam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Vantakopa to Vishagi Vasanadeva Jampadim Bhamanam Vanshin Namo Namah. Antaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai.
Prabhuji ki jai.
Hare Krishna.